Hi, this is Beverly Mahone, your communications and vocabulary coach, here today to talk to you about the three levels of communication. The three levels are vocabulary, vocal inflection, and nonverbal. Now, the first one, vocabulary, researchers say about 7% of how we communicate is based on vocabulary. So, those are the words we use when we're speaking with our neighbors, our friends, our bosses at work. Now, the way that we would communicate with our girlfriends is quite different than the way we should be communicating with our bosses. So, for example, if your girlfriend asks you, "Hey, how was your weekend?" I could respond, "Girl, it was off the chain. I had so much fun. We partied. We stayed up until about like 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and I was so tired I couldn't even hardly open my eyes the next day. Oh, it was just off the chain." Now, my girlfriend will understand that and receive it because she knows me. But if I go into my boss and my boss says, "Beverly, how was your weekend?" I am certainly not going to tell my boss it was off the chain. First of all, that's none of his business or her business what kind of weekend I had. But to be polite and to use business etiquette, I will say, "I had a great weekend. Had fun times spending with the family. And how was yours?" And then they will proceed, and that will be the end of that. So, yes, the way you speak with your girlfriends will not be the way and should not be the way you communicate with your boss. Even if you have a friendly relationship, there are some things that you need to be mindful of when you are communicating in a professional environment. Number two, vocal inflection. And the researchers say 38% of how we communicate is based on vocal inflection. All right, so that's the pitch. That is if you're talking too loud, talking too softly, constantly yelling at someone, even though you're not yelling at them, but they think you're yelling at them because you're talking so loud all the time. If you have a high shrill voice and you're sounding like you're so excited all the time. "I just can't believe it. I'm so excited. This is so awesome." Yeah, okay, you can express it that way. But for every sentence that you use, every sentence is not excitable. The same is every sentence should not sound like you're bored to death. So let's use that same example. "So, how was your weekend, Beverly?" "Well, my weekend was off the chain. I had a good time and I got to spend it with family and friends. We stayed up playing games till about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I could hardly get out of bed the next day." Now, I don't know about you, but that does not sound like it was an exciting time. And that's because there was no vocal inflection. I did not sound excited. I did not sound enthusiastic. I did not sound as if anything I did over the weekend was worth even sharing. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, the last one is really, really important because the research says 55% of how we communicate is nonverbal. So even when you're speaking, you've got this going on. You've got the facial expressions going on. You've got the body language going on. It is so, so important. And it's even more important when you're listening to someone else. Okay. So let's just say you and I are having a conversation. We're sitting here and we're chatting and we're friends. We know each other. Or maybe we don't even know each other that well. Let's just say we don't know each other. And so you're talking, you're telling me something, and I'm doing this. Okay, so it looks as though I'm kind of half interested. Well, first of all, this right here, the hand on the face, that should be a no-no. I mean, unless your face is drooping, unless you're just so tired that you cannot keep your head propped up, you should never, ever have your hands on your face when you are speaking to someone in person. That just does not even, it's not friendly and it's definitely not professional. So, what you want to try to be mindful of is having good, solid eye contact. If you're speaking to the person or if they're speaking to you, look them in the eye. Make them feel like you're listening to them. Make them feel like what they're saying to you is important enough for you to engage with them with your eyes. Because looking up around is distracting. It's going to say to them that you're really not there in the conversation and you don't really want to be there. Another bad thing that people do is they put their hands on their hips and then they shake their heads when they're talking. Now, unless you are in a beef with this individual and that's the point you want to make, you should never put your hands on your hips and then roll your head around. Because trust me, that body language is fighting body language. And somebody, they may not just fight you, but they will certainly let you know that they don't really want to be around you. So you definitely don't want to do that. So that's today's lesson. 3 levels of communication: vocabulary, vocal inflection, and nonverbal. Hopefully you got something out of this. And if you're interested in learning more, you can always get up with me on my website, beverlymahone.net. All coaching sessions are online. And until next time, here's to your speaking success.